show
the war was declared on us.
Filing the paperwork is letting them know, hey, I'm not an anarchist, I'm not anti-government, I'm pro-good government, I'm just waiting for it to show up, and it's not really around. So I'm going to leave the party for now. If good government shows up, hey, I might just come back.
Exactly.
But for now, like, paying income tax so that people can go be killed in Afghanistan doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make logical sense, right?
Not at all.
Borrowing money at huge interest, compounded interest from the central banks doesn't make any sense to me.
You know what I was thinking about yesterday? The term collateral damage. When applied from a financial perspective, you've got two warring parties. Oh, we killed one of your civilians. Oh, well, they're just collateral. For what? Collateral is pledged for a loan, and this IMF, they're all in there. They almost come right out and tell you, no, you have been pledged. Your life has been pledged for a loan. So when you get damaged, oh well, that's just, we're damaging our own collateral.
Well, so they know if the collateral damage isn't balanced, then they know who to pay. Well, you got more collateral damage, so you guys get this.
And the other definition for it that they might try to point to is inconsequential to the main action. So how do you like your government either considering your death to be inconsequential to them, or that you're actually physically collateral for their loans?
Wake up.
Going back to the good government thing, if we wait around for good government, it's never going to happen. So I see two ways of doing it. We either all become free man at the same time and all walk away, and then it all just crumbles, or we all go like Neo, we go back in, we understand how the whole game works, and we take our piece and we go back in, and we play the game and we win the game.
Rob wants to run for Prime Minister.
No, if there's going to be a government, we're waiting for good government, we're going to be waiting a long freaking time. So
I'll vote for a free man.
If we want government, then we're going to have to be the good government.
Yeah.
Just an example of
it.
Just
like becoming the media, the people.
Or anarchy rules, because there's nothing wrong with anarchy.
No, as long as everybody's living in peace.
Anarchy means self-govern, so once you get to a point where you can govern yourself accordingly, then you don't need government.
I think our biggest problem is our government and our courts have been hijacked by corporations.
Yes.
They have no soul, and there is no real way
it's all about bottom line.
hold them in, to rein them in.
Business. Straight up.
That's it. These questions are pertaining to employment financial aspects of the process. Is all debt eliminated? Does personal employment and business owning become an easier issue as a free man? How do we become free businessmen and women, being that a person is free? Is there any,
It's three questions.
Yeah, it's kind of three questions,
No, all debt is not eliminated.
No.
Personal employment does not become easier.
It does not.
No. They'll ask you.
It does become harder because then
your social insurance number, personal employment is pretty much impossible because, like, a citizen's already a government employee. Getting your social insurance number is really like the final stage of locking you in to that whole system, and they basically not set it up so that the end user has to have a social insurance number. They make it so that the employer can only hire people with social insurance numbers.
Get it on the
what they can do, there's a thing called doing business as. It's a common law concept, so you just present yourself, you serve notice on the public, you say, I'm going to be doing business as Organozone, say. And then you can just engage in that activity. You are going to be limited to you're not going to, if your business is using the public spaces, like public parks and whatnot, the highways, you're not going to be able to open up a taxi company or something like that. You can't use the commons for your own commercial activities. Otherwise, you could very easily become a free businessman or businesswoman if that's what you want.
Yeah, and the other thing is that the banking system is set up pretty much to engage only now with persons. You used to be able to get a so-called natural person bank account. Which
you still can.
So
you can open up an account with no sin very easily, and
well, not necessarily easily, but you'll get some resistance definitely.
Well, not anymore.
No,
people are doing it all the time, quite easily now. Cool. I know, like years ago, we had to go in. Myself and Greg, we had to go in with two of us, and we needed ID, and then we had to sign a thing saying we waive the interest payments. And then because of that, they didn't need a social insurance number.
And the fraud came in with with social insurance, right? Like that's where the fraud came in. Well, all insurance is a scheme.
It is.
Right? It's a total scheme, and they say it, right?
It's a gamble.
In England, they still call it an insurance scheme. Here, it's not called a scheme anymore.
The program.
So once you're a free man, you can work, right?
Of course.
Well,
without a social insurance.
Your arms and legs don't get broken when you become a free freeman, right? You can still do anything you could.
You're just no longer getting hired as an agent of the government.
So, do you get taxed during
If you
when you
provide
get payment?
a social insurance number, that's what makes you taxable.
Okay.
You're just saying,
They have
I'm
nothing to
operating
tax.
as a taxpayer, right? That just like a license makes you creates a person called a driver, right? The social insurance number creates a person called a taxpayer. So when you see in the news when they're saying we've got angry taxpayers, they're not talking about the men and women. They're just talking about the people that they've leached a bunch of income.
Talking about that person, right?
So that's why these are all taxpayer-funded wars.
Yeah, it is. What is C3PO? Please explain.
Canadian Common Corps of Peace Officers. Essentially, the problem that I see in Canada is that all of our peace officers are also hired by corporations to enforce their policies. And they then get confused between what are their policies and what are not. You can shut down your computer over there.
Yeah. Just close it.
So the Canadian Common Corps of Peace Officers is just people hiring each other to preserve and maintain the public peace. You don't really. You could hire me for a kernel of corn for all it's been done. We were looking at using an ounce of gold so that there is less argument about whether or not proper consideration was given, and it goes through the loop. So where does that 1 ounce of gold come from?
That's a
someone pulls it out of their pocket.
Okay.
Says, here, I'm going to hire you. You hire him. You hire me. It comes back to me, but we're all hired.
Excellent.
So, how does one access this bond or security person, the document that you're speaking about in your film?
There is no clear-cut, easy way that I can guarantee everyone can do it. Some people have had success trying certain steps. Other people have not found the same level of success with those same steps. Essentially, it is a demand. You do have to make a demand under Section 337. You have to cancel the trust, and then you have to have just cause for it, essentially. But you do it under a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right. And essentially what it boils down to, and I don't call it a bond anymore, I call it the security of the person. And there might be a bond floating out there intermittently, which is supported by the security as collateral. But then they pay off the bond, so there is no bond there at that moment. But the security is always there.
They're always wrapping them up into huge bundles and things on the futures market, and the whole derivatives scheme. Like, they basically, every 10-15 years, they come up with a new scheme that's unregulated for financial markets. They promulgate it on the public, get a bunch of suckers to invest their money, crash it, and then repeat the cycle.